Hello everybody, this is the King of Pikmin here yet again, and today we're doing another countdown. For those of you unaware, I've been looking forward to Project L for quite some time. And that's because I like the world of League of Legends, I like the characters, but the gameplay just is not for me. But those of you who know me and know my channel, fighting games are most certainly my thing, so I want to do a countdown of the top 10 characters I want to see in Project L. In other words, the League of Legends fighting game. I know it's kind of cheating since it's a top 10 list, but I do want to throw out some honorable mentions first before we get started. I'm not going to talk too much about them, I'm just going to throw up some art of them on the screen, just so that the name is mentioned in case they do end up in the game. Alright, so in no particular order, we have Trundle, the King of Trolls, Mordekaiser, the Iron Revenant, Fiora, the Grand Duelist, and Vi, the Piltover Enforcer. These are characters that just didn't quite make the cut for my top 10. But they're characters I still would be interested in seeing nonetheless. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the top 10. That's right, number 10 is Maokai, the Twisted Treant. Now this one's probably a controversial pick because he's very unorthodox, especially by fighting game standards, I feel like. Now I was drawn to him because, much like Treebeard, I've always been from Lord of the Rings, I've always been a fan of living, I don't know how to describe it, but like a living creature that is based around nature, like a living tree or like a rock formation that came to life somehow. But the thing about Maokai is he's really interesting. He has like these saplings he can throw in League of Legends, and the reason I like them is because you could hide them in bushes and they'd come running out to attack people. And it always reminded me of Pikmin, very mildly, but it always reminded me of Pikmin a little bit, so that's kind of why I liked playing him in League. But then his ultimate ability, at least after the rework, where he can send the vines and whatnot after you, just always looked really cool to me. I just feel like having a character controlling like the vines and having these saplings that he can throw out to attack in a game like Project L, a tag-based fighter that's supposed to be, you know, extremely fast-paced and whatnot. Imagine the setups and stuff you could do. All in all, I don't have too much specific I want to see out of him. I just think he'd be a really interesting addition, and he definitely would be someone I want to try out. Number 9, Scion, the Undead Juggernaut. I mean, just by that title alone, you could probably see why someone like me would want to see him in the game. I mean, he's just pure brute force in the game. He has a huge axe, he slams on the ground to knock people up into the air, and then he can buff himself with a shield, so he's a lot harder to kill. And then one of my favorites, even though it's kind of useless in League of Legends, when he dies, he gets a last-ditch effort. He throws the axe down and then just chases after people with just his fists, and you can do some crazy damage if you can catch people, but catching them can be difficult. There's not too much to say about him. He's very straightforward, and I just love the Juggernaut type characters, even literally Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the Juggernaut. Armored, you know, powerful, really menacing, and I would just love to see Scion in there. And imagine if when you get to like 10% health, you get into that state where you just use your fists. That could be really cool, like for some extra damage output. I know people don't like comeback mechanics too much, but I think it'd be pretty neat.
There's only one way in Bilgewater.
Number 8 is the Saltwater Scourge himself, Gangplank. Now, funny story, there's a character on this list who was my first League of Legends character ever. He's further up on the list, but Gangplank was actually my second. I was looking through all the characters, saw the pirate, and while I'm not a fan of pirates and what they are known for and everything, I have always liked the aesthetic of pirates, and I saw Gangplank, I was like, let me try him. That was before the rework. Now with his rework in a fighting game, it could be really neat. Imagine being able to set up barrels. Those of you who don't know, he can set up these powder keg barrels that explode and shoot them to detonate them early to do extra damage, or they'll blow up over time. Like, he could be like a pretty neat trap character, which is kind of weird for me. I'm not usually someone who would want to play a trap character, but I think Gangplank could be really cool. And of course, one of his other abilities is to eat oranges to heal himself a little bit and cleanse any crowd control effects on him. Imagine if he has that in the game. That'd be hilarious. Just like scarfing some frickin' oranges right in their face. I don't know. Long story short, Gangplank with his sword, his flintlock pistol, I think could be a lot of fun. Especially if he's talking trash the whole time.
on this path until the end.
Number 7 is Talia the Stone Weaver. Towards the time I stopped playing League of Legends, she's a more recent character, at least by my standards. She was straight up one of my favorites to play, aside from like the obvious ones that are going to be later in the list. I really liked playing Talia. Like she was like very unique and had like a lot of cool mechanics about her that I loved. Having like essentially what is an earthbender in a fighting game is never a bad thing. And she had her passive ability where she could like surf on a rock, and it was just so funny and hilarious. I loved it. She could lift rocks out of the ground under the opponent to launch them in certain directions. That could be really cool for her combos. She would likely be a keep away character because one of her main abilities is just to pepper people with rocks, like from a distance. But that being said, I honestly, I debate even putting her higher on the list, but let's just stop at 7 because there's some really good characters coming up that fit me even better. But Talia might be a sleeper hit if she's in the game, so I really want her in the game, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I'm talking about Talia too much. I'm trying to keep these, you know, pretty short, so let's get into the next one. From this point forward, anyone who knows me is not going to be surprised by any of my picks, and that starts with number 6, Volibear, the Relentless Storm. I mean, a giant bear who controls lightning, and in his new ultimate, of course, since the rework, he like just grows to a huge size with like a big leaping slam, and he chases people down on all fours to flip them. It's just, Volibear, there's not, like, this will be a short one because giant bear goes ham. There you go. I want him in the game. You feel me? So that's about it for Volibear. He was one of my favorites to play in League as well. Just pure aggro, chase people down, flip them over your head. Your whole team jumps them. It's over. You know, I dig it. So Volibear, I'd be very excited to see him in there.
Bring on someone my size.
Next up is number 5 with Galio the Colossus. This is an interesting one. When I first started playing League, he was also an early character I played long before his rework, when he was like the cousin no one wanted at the party. Like everyone always made fun of me for playing him, but I just thought he was really cool and fun. Maybe because I used to like the Gargoyle show when I was a kid, and before his rework, he was basically just like a gargoyle. I didn't really think he needed a rework because I enjoyed him already, but surprisingly, when they reworked him, I liked him even better. They made him this giant gargoyle the size of, you know, towns and cities and stuff like that, but they kept him pretty similar, but made him like this protector. Like he's this symbol of, you know, protection, and he defends Demacia, which is one of my favorite zones, I guess you could say, in League of Legends. A lot of my favorite characters come from there. But even his ultimate, he just flies up into the sky and then comes crashing down on someone who's in danger and like knocks up and does crazy damage to everyone in a huge area around them. It's a lot of fun. And then he's really tanky. He can taunt people, which means, and if you don't know what a taunt is, it's when you get the aggro, like you get the attention of people and they're forced to shoot you instead of your teammates. So that's a lot of fun in the game. I don't want to talk about it too much. If you want full breakdowns of what I want to see out of these characters and why I like them so much, I'll do a follow-up video. But for now, let's put Galio on the back burner and get into the next one.
On wings of fire, hope ascends!
Alright, we're getting into the big leagues now with number 4 being Kale the Righteous. From Demacia, I forget her entire lore, but she's basically, the way I always saw her, I was drawn to her early on because she was like a warrior angel. You know, she had a flaming sword, and her tagline's the righteous. I mean, come on. You know, I love knights and whatnot and that theme in general, but another theme that I really enjoy, as you'll know, coming up soon, and from Galio, I forget what it is now because she's been reworked, but I haven't really played her in the rework. So I'm going more from experience with like the old Kale. But she could make a teammate or herself invulnerable for a few seconds. So she could really save people from a lot of damage doing that. It was a lot of fun. She's another one that might be a zoner, believe it or not, because she would imbue her sword with fire and use it at a distance to hit people with like an area of effect. Very, very simple character in League, but I enjoyed playing her quite a bit, and her aesthetic really fits my style, so having her in the game definitely would be exciting for me, especially the old Kale. I don't like the updated reworks visuals and design. I'm more of a classic Kale type of person, so hopefully they have skins and whatnot so that I could at least fulfill that. Number 3, Garen, the Might of Demacia. This one's going to come as no surprise to anybody. Garen is the first character that I and many other people tried when they played League of Legends for the very first time. But he always had that knightly feel, giant broadsword, very simple. He literally, all of his moves just involve around him bum rushing the opponent with his sword. That's it. You literally can speed yourself up, do an overhead slash, spin to win. That's where the term came from for me. His E, you just activate it, he just spins in place, and you can move him around while he's spinning and do really good damage. And then his ultimate, I forget what it's called, but his ultimate, I remember I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. He sticks his sword in the ground, and then like a giant sword comes from, like a energy spectral sword kind of thing. Looks like a holy sword almost, which I like. Comes down from the sky and lands on the opponent, so it's perfect for just finishing people off. You literally go in, do the overhead slash, spin on them, and then ult. And then they died. That was Garen in a nutshell. It's super simple, but the night theme, I'd be hard-pressed not to want Garen in Project L, you know what I mean? But 3 through 10 are kind of interchangeable as far as, some of the characters are interchangeable as far as where I have them ranked. It's more of a tentative ranking, but the top 2 are rock solid. Like, if those 2 are in the game, it's over. So let's get into them, shall we? Number 2 is none other than Nautilus, the Titan of the Depths. Alright, this one's a doozy because Garen I started with. I loved playing Garen, I played him quite a bit, but it didn't feel like a perfect fit. Then I saw Gangplank, let me try the Pirate, he might be kind of cool. Also not a perfect fit, but I liked him. And then, boys and girls, I saw Nautilus. Saw his moveset, the big anchor, big old diving suit. You could throw the anchor to hook people in. You could hook the terrain for traversal, like you could hook the wall and pull yourself to it. He was super tanky, and I just loved his aesthetic and the idea behind him, you know, stomping the ground to have a bunch of water ripple out. And then his ultimate being like a depth charge, basically. He sticks the anchor in the ground, and then this like exploding pulse of water, I don't really know how to describe it, chases people until it catches them, like no matter what. And then just blows up and knocks them up. You could send that after someone. When it knocks them up, then you hook to him with the anchor. And then his passive was every like few seconds when he attacks a person, he slams on them with the anchor and roots them in place. And I was enthralled with Nautilus. I was like, I played Nautilus like almost exclusively. He had the best emotes in general, and having him in Project L would literally be a dream come true. I loved Nautilus. He was my favorite character in League of Legends. Someone came along and snatched that title from poor Nautilus, and there's nothing he could do about it.
Next time, you get my back. Huh?
I mean, come on. You literally could have clicked off the video and known what my number 1 was if you know anything about me or my channel. Braum, the heart of the Freljord. I mean, the heart is the strongest muscle, man. They announced this guy protecting the poor little Poro from a hail of arrows with a gigantic shield. He's smiling. He's always happy. And in the story about his shield's actually the door to a vault. Someone was trapped behind the vault. It can't be destroyed. The shield's pretty much indestructible. So Braum's like, how the heck do I get in there? This man punches through the side of the mountain to get in and free the kid. And then when the whole mountain crumbles, he took the shield. He took the door as his shield. Not only one of my favorite characters in League of Legends, but one of my favorite characters in any media ever. So Nautilus didn't stand a chance. When Braum came along, it was all over. And he's number one. Like, if I could have a Braum and Nautilus team, the rest of my list doesn't matter, boys. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm sure maybe I'll dabble, but Braum's never coming off my team. Poor Nautilus will have to hit the bench every now and again for someone else to be on Braum's team. You feel me? I'm not going to delve too much into it. You guys get the idea probably by now. But since it's a 2v2 fighter, if it was 1v1, it'd be harder to fit him in. But having it be 2v2, yo, all I'm saying, we need Braum, but we also need Nautilus. And any of the other characters, I'd also be happy with. But the top two are what need to happen. You know what I mean?
Cousin, we must leave.
I can't move. Stop! Raise him well.
Come, little one.
Well, there's my list, boys and girls. Let me know in the comments below if you agree, disagree with any of my characters, or is my list just complete trash to you? I don't know. Like I said, if you want me to expand on any of these characters a little bit more, let me know and I'll do a follow-up video or something like that possibly. But I just, with Project L kind of on the horizon, like it's getting to the point where we're going to start getting more information, I feel like. So I wanted my list of characters I wanted to see out there. That way we could be excited together if one of them gets announced for the game. And let me just say, even if none of my characters get announced, I still want to play Project L. Like, I'm really excited for that game. It just looks like a lot of fun, and I'm trying to get back into fighting games. So we have a lot of good stuff on the horizon. Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, Project L, possibly a new Mortal Kombat. A lot of good stuff. But if my characters do make it, I'll just be even that much more excited. So whether you agree or disagree with my list, let me know down below who you want to see, if you're familiar at all with the League of Legends characters. But I feel like I've already been ranting, you know, quite a bit, probably about 15 minutes or so already at least. So I want to wrap this up. I don't like my countdowns to be too long. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing what everyone says in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully we get some more Project L news soon.